Good morning. My name is Carol Ann Blank, and I'm here with my colleague A.Guerriero, and this is Inclusive Music Practices for Young Children. And we're very happy to be able to present for the Able Assembly 2022 Digital Learning Series.
Music making in the early elementary K-2 inclusion classroom is a prime opportunity to include all learners. Universal Design for Learning provides guidance for teachers to embed inclusive practices, and participants will experience tools to scaffold learning using rhythm, melody, and timbre, or sound quality, as vehicles for learning. This session addresses the importance of music as a crucial component of a well-rounded student. Singing and rhythm are our first languages and are culturally situated. Since learning happens in a variety of ways, a focus on online learning is included to address the technological challenges and benefits of virtual learning. So the learning objectives on your screen read, our learner objectives are to articulate 3 ways music can uniquely address academic and non-academic goals. Explain how music learning supports the concept of universal design for learning. And describe a music making experience you could replicate in your classrooms. I'm Angela Guerriero, and I am here in New Jersey in my home office, and I have it's a brown and white and red top on with a red cardigan. I have brown hair. And I am a music therapist and music educator. I teach at Westchester University in Pennsylvania, and I'm a private practice music therapist.
In New Jersey, I'm wearing a light blue shirt. I have light brown hair. I wear glasses, and I'm the owner and clinician for Music Therapy Services of Central New Jersey. Okay, so musicking. No, we didn't spell it wrong. Music is inherently attractive to children. It delights and engages them. However, institutional and societal expectations of performance and early excellence can be a barrier for children's participation in music making. Further, if the adults don't feel confident and competent themselves as music makers, access to music that supports children's development is undermined. Music therapists find ways to address the underlying structural inequities that inhibit a child's development through active musicking. Music therapists who function from a developmental and systems-oriented approach to working with young children and the adults who love them employ the 3 principles of universal design for learning to create as many access points into music making as possible. Now, musicking, according to Small, in 1988, defined music as an action, not a product. And in so doing, music therapists encourage young children to be full participants in their family, classroom, and community. And I'd like to have a moment to consider this quote. Music is not a thing at all, but an activity, something that people do. The fundamental nature and meaning of music lie not in object, not in musical works at all, but in action, what people do. And this is from Christopher Small, his book called Musicking.
In Small's definition, you'll see that music doesn't have to be active. It can include music listening, along with dancing and moving, playing an instrument, composing, and singing.
Speaking of singing, I'd like us to do this chant together. This is to a well-known nursery rhyme, and I'm going to sing it, and you'll help me as you get it. Ready? I'm going to stop share just for a second. We don't need to see this. So we're going to keep the beat in our bodies. It's going to look like we are offbeat, but that's one of the technological constraints of being in a virtual learning environment. And that's kind of, sometimes we will look more synchronous, sometimes we will look a little asynchronous, but really keep the beat as best you can in your body and enjoy. Let's go. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. Yeah, the little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Yeah, the dish ran away with the spoon. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. The dish ran away with the spoon. Okay, so let me share my screen again and show you one of the ways that we include as many learners as possible and also give our students some autonomy in this experience. For those of you working in a virtual or an in-person experience, one of the things that will be very helpful is for children to be able to say when we can show the next picture. So we've got, hey diddle diddle, a cat, a fiddle, a cow, a moon. So when should we change? When should we show what the thing is that comes next? So it could be, Angela, what could it be? What could be our signal to change? Angela is my student in this little vignette.
I could wave my hand.
Ooh, you could wave your hand. What's another way to move?
I could tap my nose.
You could tap your nose. And if you couldn't tap your nose or wave your hand, what's another way you could move?
I could nod my head.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so I'm gonna look for waving hands, tapping noses, or nodding heads, okay? To know when we should change the picture. Ready? All right. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle. The cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Yes, the dish. Wait a minute. Dish ran away with the spoon. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
All right. So, in a classroom situation where you're all together, you might have pictures that somebody holds up, or you might have eye gaze to the right thing, or you might have turning. Different children can be the different objects. And we're looking at turn taking. Here as a music therapist, this would be really helpful for being patient to take a turn, motor planning, and all the wonderful fun things that go along with this experience. So as I advance my slide to the next thing, here we go.
So thinking back on what we just did, was it fun? What made it fun? What learning did you do? And what made it accessible? So if you are in a situation where you're on Zoom, everybody could be muted and playing and dancing on their own and showing their own examples of musicking, and everyone can engage how they're able to. So in a classroom face to face, they could be listening, they could be dancing, moving, singing, they could be playing instruments, and they could be composing too. So think about how it could also be more accessible. And Carol Ann's going to talk about composing and how that looks for young children.
So there's nothing precious about the words to this chant, this nursery rhyme. It doesn't matter if it's a cow jumping over the moon. It could be John jumping over the cushion. It could be Sophie running away with Amaya. It could be a lot of different things. So once the chant is really well known by the students, you can breathe new life into it by helping the children or giving the children opportunity to create new ways for the words to be. And it gives them a chance to feel a sense of ownership, and also gives them gives you as the teacher or clinician some new assessment and observational material. So here is our big concept.
Music has several foundational concepts that I'm going to review quickly here. There are different schools of thought that make the list more or fewer elements than are listed here, but these are the ones that are the most important for the developmental stages that we're addressing in this presentation. So melody is the part that we often sing. It's the melody to the song. It's when we're singing the words. The harmony is more than one note, different notes being played or sung at the same time, and it makes it a little bit thicker or a chord. Timbre, doesn't look like it's spelled that way, but it's timbre, and that's sound quality. So that's if you're hearing a flute play a C and you hear a violin play a C, we can hear the difference between the two. So that's the sound quality of the timbre. It has to do with the overtone and acoustical series. The beat, there's the steady beat that we were showing before, and the relative beat is when you're just tapping that steady beat in relation to someone else, in relation to that external stimulus. And rhythm is the repeated sounds of sound and silence. So we have different rhythm patterns when we were saying, hey, diddle, diddle, ba, 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 ba. So every song differs from every other song because of how these elements interact with each other.
So take a moment to reflect on songs that you know really well. Think about what the melody is, what the harmony is, and see if you can identify the steady beat or the rhythm of the song.
So the first branch of universal design for learning is providing multiple means of engagement. This is the why of learning. So for affective engagement is crucial. Why are we interested in learning this? Why is this important to me?
Is it because I want to make sure that there are the same number of cookies on my plate as the same number of cookies on my friend's plate?
That's right. So there has to be a why. Why is this important? And there's individual differences within that we need to respect. So some students prefer novelty and others prefer routine. Some prefer working in groups and others prefers working alone. But all of this will also help to support their self-regulation skills. The second one is providing multiple means of representation. So that's what we do as adults. This is the what of learning. We know that learners perceive and comprehend information differently. And we know that an effective way of learning is to make connections within and between concepts. So we need to provide options for representation of the material that we're teaching. This supports comprehension strategies. So this can include text equivalencies in the form of captions or automated speech to text, or voice recognition for spoken language. Some students might need it spoken and explained to them. We can provide visual diagrams and charts and notations of music or sound. We can provide written transcripts for videos or auditory clips. We could provide American Sign Language or ASL for words that are spoken. We could use visuals to represent emphasis and prosody, so emoticons and symbols and images. And we can provide visual and or tactile, like vibrations, equivalencies for sound effects or alerts. And we could provide visual and or emotional description for musical interpretation. These are just a few examples. And then the third and final aspect of Universal Design for Learning is to provide multiple means of action and expression. The how of learning. So this is what the students are doing, the physical action that they're taking. So in Hey Diddle Diddle, when I was waving my hand or nodding my head or tapping my nose, there's multiple means for communicating, multiple means and tools for constructing meaning, and this supports executive functioning skills. So learners differ in the ways that they can navigate a learning environment and express what they know. Some may be able to express themselves well in written text, but not in speech, or vice versa. Including the use of technology is important here as another means of communication. And providing options for action and expression is essential. And it's important that we know there's many ways of communicating and not to just prioritize the spoken word. So Universal Design for Learning provides guidance for teachers to embed inclusive practices for engagement, representation, and action and expression. So engagement is what motivates them, the cookies, the electronic games, the popular music, the videos. The representation is the visuals, manipulatives, technology as well. And action and expression is writing, singing, playing, composing, and technology also. Inclusion is the preferred model for teaching. It requires close communication with other teachers and therapists, requires making accommodations when needed, and being open-minded and willing to make inclusion work. And in our approach, music is inherently inclusive. It's different from the consumerism or performance orientation. It's process-based. There's more wait time and preparation, more technology integration, and there's additional adaptive equipment or non-traditional instruments. Now, you may have heard the terms neurodiversity and neurodivergent, and they are different. So neurodiversity honors the diversity in the individual. The person is viewed holistically. Neurodivergent individuals may identify as being on the autism spectrum or having ADHD. Neurodivergence is not a diagnosis to be cured, and it is not related to intellect. The music making in the early elementary K-2 inclusive classroom is a prime opportunity to include all learners, including students with disability and neurodiverse students. So pandemonium, and on the screen you will see a sleepy panda. So the pandemic exposed the digital divide. There's unequal access to Wi-Fi, to internet connections, and the negative impact of the global pandemic on young children's development is in all domains, and it has been keenly felt among communities of marginalized groups, including students with disabilities.
So pandas eat a lot and they sleep a lot. And learning loss and skill loss, regression, regulation, and even now, regulation is difficult. These are all trauma responses that we're still seeing in our students.
So when we present a song, approaching the song with the intent of engaging as many people, as many students as possible. Since this is a recorded session, we can't have a discussion about this. So this slide is just to guide and suggest ways of thinking. What does engagement look like in your classroom? And what can it look like given the principles of universal design for learning?
So we encourage you to really give some attention to the beginnings and the endings of songs, setting up your access points in your body and your affect and musically. Engagement is a key concept of UDL, so capturing and maintaining children's engagement is a key focus of musicking. The academic concepts, they're a bonus, not the primary focus in our way of approaching musicking. So the academic concepts may be introduced and explored, but not at the expense of learner engagement. As soon as it looks like a chore to learn that this means forte and this means piano, then you're just not going to do it anymore. So music and trauma-informed care. There are 6 components, according to Heiderscheit and Murphy, in a 2021 article about the ways that music can influence or be incorporated into trauma-informed care. And the first is safety. We're looking to make sure that we're, for some of our learners, sound is very triggering and upsetting, so we're looking to be really concerned about decreasing sensitivity to sound and to create, for at times in our classroom, a neutral auditory environment. I'm going to read columns, so I'm sticking now with collaboration. We hope always to accept and include, even if someone's contribution doesn't look musical, it lacks a musical element. As musicians and as people really looking to include all the contributions of our students, we'll try to shape that contribution into a musical one. So we accept and include, and we make sure we're really flexible, and we, as much as possible, engage in joint decision making. Trustworthiness. Songs often have definable beginnings, middles, and ends. These provide reliable, predictable, and clear boundaries. Another component of trauma-informed care is empowerment. So in music experiences, students choose instruments. Maybe they also choose the movement and the words. They own the music experience, and having ownership of the music experience leads to empowerment. Peer support is a component of trauma-informed care. Group music making that honors each person's contribution, develops empathy and awareness of others. And finally, the cultural and historical positioning of a song or the person within the experience. Music that is important to the child's culture should be considered for inclusion in the experience that you're setting up in your classroom or therapy room. Thank you very much for spending your time with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.